right, good day to all. Sam here with you. It's Monday, February 12th, and we're mid-morning, and I've got requests from members to give an update on Bitstamp. So what we do is every day we put out a poll, and we do a vote. We let the members pick which videos will get the video analysis for the day. So since we did Bitcoin on Friday, as we always do, I thought we'd give a revisit here and make a case for the bearish side of things here, because we really are kind of at a point where it's really questionable. We could go either way, and the market is not giving us clear tells that would give us confidence in one count over the other. Now, of course, looking right here, the question mark is, is the low in here? There's a case to be made for that, and I did, if you look back at videos, Friday's video, we can see some technical confluence here at these pivots, right? So as I showed on Friday, if we work from this swing high to this low here, we can see here's first algo target, second algo target. So we get a technical pivot here on both of these. Which, sure, that's encouraging here, but what we're not getting off of this low is good impulsive action. We are not getting anything that would, give us the confidence that we're moving off of this as the potential low here and we're going impulsive. If anything, it's continuing to look more corrective than impulsive. Now, we don't rule out the bullish count, but I thought today, since we kind of leaned on the bullish count on Friday, we'd look at the bearish roadmap and see where and when we could disqualify it, or get some sense of whether or not the next trade here is to be looking for Bitcoin to be heading down. All right, so I'm going to take this off just to clear up the chart. So we know these are technical pivots, and you can see here I've got the shift pitchfork on this, which so we're now we come back and we approach the median line. You can see that's, as it often is, it's a bit of a magnet here. We can see the test here, down, back. We hover around it. Now we've gone very close to it, but it would appear that we're coming up to test it. But what the important pivot here is this one potential, the proposed, as I have it counted, one low here. Right, because that potentially changes this from an impulsive structure to a diagonal. If we overlap the one, then we go into a diagonal, and that changes the fib poles for us. Now, we're not there yet. I've got it wicked off, but that would certainly, as I'm sitting here looking at it, this is the 4-hour on Bitstamp, regardless of what my trading on Bitstamp, wherever you're trading it, you want to wick off that low. It'll be very close to this, regardless of what exchange you're on and what you're trading. So you want to be conscious of this low getting overlapped here as a potential fourth. So right now, we'd work from the assumption that we're still in an impulsive C wave here. So again, leaning on the bear count. So the fact that we've come up here did not overlap, went right to the median line, a little shy of it, but potentially looking for this to roll over here. If we don't overlap the one, this changes some of our projections, some of our fib projections relative to the wave structure, the wave relationships. We shall see what happens here. We're going to go look at it on a smaller time frame. We may not be finished with this correction. There may be some more complexity to it, but this will be a bit of a tell. That's what we're looking for, is some guidance as to what the more likely count is, so that at least if we're going to put on a trade, we have more confidence in it rather than what we're seeing here, which is a bit of a roll of the dice as to which way we're going. So, of course, I shouldn't say of course, but I should say my bias. I'm very conscious of my bullish bias. I don't like to short Bitcoin, and I very rarely will do it. But I want to be conscious of where the opportunity is, and if the bullish count is going to be less likely, that might affect how I approach virtually everything in the market. If Bitcoin is going to roll over, that of course that affects everything in the crypto sphere. So this is an important point here. Now, we're going to go look at this on a smaller count. If we do overlap here, just to make the point, what that will change is we'll now pull from the B high up here, the start of the wave one. We'll go to the low here of the third, and we'll look for the fib relationship here from that entire distance. So looking for a hot box, it's very consistent with what the algorithms will be doing. So if we get up here and we test the 50 with the overlap, then the next trade that their algos are going to sell it there, and they've got this nice fat target down here. We've got a target zone, so we've got the larger the larger here, and then we've got the smaller one here. So we've got, you know, a lot of resistance to get through before we can, you know, take this bearish count off the table. Right now, it's still, you know, it still looks very likely, if for no other reason than this low needs to get tested. So that's a, you know, so that put us down to 4,200 all the way down, potentially as low as 3,100. Yeah, so certainly anyone who's bullish in this market does not want to see that happen. So we're kind of watching here, hoping that we get evidence that we can rule that out. But right now we simply can't. Now, how would we know? Well, first thing we're gonna need to do is get through this 65. That's going to be important. So if this is going to push up here, we got to get on the other side of that 65 so we can get the algos that are going to be pulling here to flip. Can we get them to flip? So the first one we got to get through is this 65. Then we got to get through the big one here from swing high to low. You know, it's going to be very hard to take the bullish count off the table until we get through that. And you know, here again on Bitstamp, we're on the other side of that. That's called 13.5. Right. So right now, that certainly looks like that's a strong contender. So we shall see. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but that certainly is you know, a very reasonable path from an Elliott perspective. So you get this confluence here where we have both what we'd anticipate from the Elliott wave relationship, and for that progression to continue and complete is in sync with what the algorithms are likely to do here, both working from this pivot as well as this one. So, you know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that is very, very viable as a path that we might take here. So with that off, we still let's dig down to this. Let me see if I can do it on here. So I'll go to the 1 hour here. So here's where it's confusing. So let me pull this stuff off so we can get a better look at it. So does this look impulsive? Right, it does. It's hard to make the case there. It would appear that there was. We make the case that we had a leading diagonal here. That you can make that case. We had a leading diagonal, but we didn't get a good 2. So the 2 was suspect, and now we didn't get any extension here. So if we look here, we'd have to be playing for a 1-2 again. So trying to look at this with as bullish a bias as I possibly could, even if I play for this as, you know, if we work into a 1-2, 1-2, even here we're still only at the 38. You know, it's really hard to find a bullish count here that works. So even if we get a leading diagonal, you know, I'm really fighting to try and find a bullish count that works here. So from this perspective, it would appear, given the 5-wave structure that we have here, right? So remember, shorter term trend, if we see a 5, that would imply that we've got something like this underway. But that in turn is consistent with this kind of a scenario. If this is the A wave completed, we'd put down a B, then we'd go up here for a C. So that could create a bullish trade here. Right, and if you'll recall from the fib swings that, you know, that would be up around 11,000. We're a long way from the 13.5 where we can really be comfortable that we have a hard pivot in here. So if we could potentially count it this way. So we might have an A, B, C here. Let me change that degree, put it in yellow, so we can go down a bit, so we can start to organize it. So we potentially have that here. You know, we might be able to do it this way. So you might have an A here. We get a 3. Yeah, that actually plays better. So we get an A, B, C down into this B. So we get a shallow C. We don't get the kind of extension we'd like to see in that C wave, but that certainly plays as a leading diagonal into an A wave, 3-wave B. Then we do see 5-wave subdivision into that C. It's not pretty, but it's there. There's a very shallow. When we go down to the 15, I'll show it to you. There's a very shallow 4-5 to give us that potential as a C wave. So you know this. So to put the wave count on this. So if we look here now, even if we just start pulling fibs and we look here, so we can go from this swing here to this low. Well, we know B wave, that's not uncommon to go to the 786, so that would suggest that there could be a leg down here. Now, granted, this could be proven wrong. Look at this little spike that's happening here. So that would suggest that there was a potential play here for this to go down for a C wave to complete the larger B. Let me change that degree again so it makes sense. So we'll go down. Okay, so potentially there. Now, if we go into if we get impulsive here, so let's open this up and see, well, what could happen there? Let me get that dialed in. Okay, so right now we're coming up, we're challenging the 786. But this even still, as an impulsive wave, it's just full of problems. So let me pull that off. So could we count this like this? Could we say, oh, 1, 2, here's a 3. Well, right away, that's a 3 wave ABC, which would imply a diagonal. But we don't overlap the 1. So it's hard to get a good count. Then we look at that and say, well, wait a minute, let's check the length of the 1 wave from the 2 low. Yeah, we get past 100%. We don't get up into, it's just a struggle to fit the bullish count on here that plays. And so the first problem is the ABC here into the 3. So, it's just hard to find a count that plays here where you can have confidence in it. So we go up one more time. Could we see that? It's ugly. So that would finish our third. So if we just look statistically, okay, so it's not pretty. We don't have the exact subdivision we'd like to see. Can we make a case for it? Well, here's the high probability zone for that third. Now look what's right here. This as I showed you before, that's the wave 1 low. So are we going to pull up here, get the 3, then we'd have to relabel here. There's the 4. Then we go up for the 5. We get on the other side. We get on the other side of the wave 1 low. Now we know we're into a diagonal. That doesn't eliminate the bear case. All that does is tell us that we're looking at a diagonal, and we still likely have one more push down here. So, we're not there yet, right? We're not there yet. So first thing we got to do is take out this pivot, and we haven't done it yet, even though we had this little push. There's an effort to try and get there. So if I look at that, we're still, here's our 786. Is that a failure? It's hard to get confidence in this. So it's mixed messages. Here's the 5. Here's a 5. Is this potentially a 5? Here's a 5. 5s and 3s, mixed signals all over the board. So, one, of course, reasonable position to take is to not be trading Bitcoin until we get more clarity here. It's very hard to get a clean count on it. So I'm going to just show you down to the smaller time frame. So if I look at it down here, here it is on the 15-minute. So and I've switched to Bitfinex as a different exchange here. Just take note of that. So slightly different. It's I think sometimes a good idea to look at it on multiple exchanges. So here's the bear count that I had implied to you on the hourly, that we had an ABC. So if I just put the wave on that so you can see what I'm suggesting we might have. So potentially we've got an ABC, and then here we'd be looking for some sort of an ABC for that to come down. So if I put the wave on that. So you see how this could play still and then give us this ABC. So let me put that on so you can get an idea of the roadmap that I think we're in the midst of right now. So ABC, ABC, AB, larger ABC. So what does that do to the larger degree? It really doesn't invalidate the bearish count at all. And if anything, it reinforces it. So we shall see. We shall see. This right now, you can see here, this is problematic. Even if we get one more little push up, it would imply that maybe we're finishing up the C wave here. Maybe we get a 5-wave structure to complete that B wave. We could go beyond this. We could have a flat. We could have an expanded B wave. It's just more confusion in Bitcoin. There's too many possibilities for us to get really confident in any one of them. Here, something else let me pull this off here just to reduce the clutter. So we're outside this parallel. Interesting, right? So we might have to pull this up. I'll take that off. So let's get this wave off. I know it's, if you're not into Elliott wave, then this is just a giant cluster F. Right? So, the point of the Elliott wave is to try and get precision with regards to our entries, right? As I've shown you many times and told you, algos, they don't care. They don't care. Here's what an algo is doing. So if you take note of this swing low here to this swing high, there's the 786. Here's this. So we go back, check 1. Do I see anything there? See, it's solving the puzzle. What pivots are they working from? Well, that gets my eye. So we work from this, potentially this 2 to the 5 here. We go right to the 618. We get a 5-wave structure. We go right to their first target. That's the algo target. There's the reaction. Well, now we'd pull from the absolute swing high Well, interestingly, now I go to that high. We go right back to the golden zone. So you see this, it's just mixed messages everywhere I look. Even if I go all the way back down to the low, now I've just gone to the 38. Am I going to get a 5 wave here? Doesn't change the bearish count, even though I'm pulling for Bitcoin to get rolling here and get some traction here. It's hard to rule any of this out. So I guess the point I want to make here, if you're a student of this and trying to get a handle on where we are, it's looking where are the algos. That's the first thing we want to identify. What are they doing? What pivots are they working from? And so how are we going to know? Well, the first thing we know is that this one was something that they were working from. So we can identify that because we can do this and go, okay, that's algo tracks right there. That's their entry. That's their target. Look at the reaction. Okay, we come back, hardcore reaction. Then we go, okay, so let's check from the new high and see, is there anything there that I can work with? Well, we do it again. Same pivot. So you go, well, how do I know? Well, you don't know. That's kind of the point here. You're just trying to find it. It's solve the puzzle. Okay, we know what they like to do. We know they're in here, of course. So then we'll pull from here. What do I get here? Well, there's the 786, to and through. Anything here? It's not ideal. And I look here and I can go, okay, so 382, that would suggest maybe we've got one more push up here. A, B, C, anything. It's just a constant process of trying to find what they're doing, what pivots they're working with, and can I tuck in behind them? Now that's deep, but for a B wave, that's right on par. So is this A, B or 1, 2? We can't be definitive about it. I wish I could tell you guys, oh, I can see exactly what's happening. I saw someone say they were trying to solve Bitcoin. Guys, you don't solve this puzzle. What you do is just try and play the odds best that you can. So was this a trade? Yeah, but we don't solve anything. It's not like you get a count here and you go, voila, I have solved the puzzle, because the puzzle is constantly changing. You don't solve it. You just try and find what's happening now. What would make sense? How can I organize what's happened back here relative to where I am on the hard right edge? Can I organize this to give me an indication of where I might be going next? So you can't solve it on the right edge. You can solve it historically. So maybe that's what the implication was. We can solve this side after the fact. Over here, just playing the odds. What's likely to happen? Where can I disqualify that? This is where the Elliott wave becomes effective, because it gives you a yes, no, up, down, black, white. Can I call this a 1, 2? Does that look like an impulsive 3? No, it doesn't. So what could that be? What can I call this to organize it so I can understand what might be happening and where is the next odds play? Well, I see here this pivot here does not overlap this pivot. Does that tell me it's a 4? Maybe. Is that a trade? Sure. Why not? No reason not to take that trade, unless you're just confused and you're thinking, until I get clarity, why do I want to gamble in here? Let's get something that sets up the way I like it, or the way you like it, and then go in with good risk reward. All right? Certainly you're going to want to stop on it, because it's confusing in here. It's like the market is confused. Bitcoin is confused. And that's going to keep everything within the crypto sphere somewhat unresolved until we get clarity from Bitcoin. And that's kind of where the state of the market is coming in on Monday. As I look all across the alt space, it's a lot of, is it a 1, 2, 3 or an ABC? It's just like the market is waiting for Bitcoin to give us clarity. That's what I'm seeing. It's just indecision. So why force a trade? If you see something you like, pull a trigger, put the stop on it, set a target. Don't let the fact that I can't give you a clear path in Bitcoin keep you out of a trade if you've got good risk reward. But you sure as hell want to stop on it, right? I would, no matter what, you're going to want to put a stop on it. So let's wait for this to give us more clarity so that we can take a higher percentage trade. After the fact, yeah, beautiful. But did you know that they were working from that pivot? I didn't until I started pulling pivots and looking for it. So that's I hate to be so non-committal in what I'm seeing. So I guess the larger picture is, trade the swings if you're anxious to be in the market. If you're not, sideline's not a bad place to be. Wait for more clarity, or just work off the larger time frames and let the some of the big tells be resolved. Right. So if we go back here, what happens at the wave 1 low? Are we overlapping? Are we going to a diagonal? If we're going to a diagonal, that gives us that's a clue. That's another clue for us. Right now, hard to call it. All right, guys, I've rambled on long enough. Okay, I'll wrap it there, and I'll be back with a look at a couple other spreads.